Western culture is saving America right now. I'm a former rodeo queen. Jordan's the #1 rodeo queen hater.
They make sure to let everybody know that the whole thing is about them.
Fire hazards on 2 feet.
Listen, I was a rodeo kid. Like, we grew up blaring hip hop. Rodeo, Western, the cowboy is the #1 cultural export from our country. What's going to make Shad dangerous? Welcome back. As always, we are brought to you by the 1017 Project. And listen, this is not a me project. This is not a Hondo project. This is a entire culture uniting to feed a community. We want you to know that you can be a part of this also. We are donating hamburger. We've donated almost 800,000 pounds of hamburger. There's a donate tab if you go to the 1017project.com. You can also text the word Hondo, Hondo, to the number 53555, and that goes to our link if you want to donate. I think there's times where you're having a day where you're like, I just don't know what today did. I can't say that I accomplished anything today. I would encourage you that anytime, any day of the week, you can go make a contribution. We are able to place protein, which is a prevention for health issues. It's an autoimmune disease prevention effort. It is all of the things that children need for a healthy diet, and that's what we're providing. So go check them out, 1017project.com. Welcome to WeaverRiggs. Kennedy, it's a busy week. Again, I love this show in the summer. I'll probably love it anyway, but I love this time of year.
I do too. And as an official introduction, I'd just like to point out, you guys, this is big because just having this podcast in general, this duo here is, I'd say, groundbreaking. I'm a former rodeo queen. Jordan's the #1 rodeo queen hater. But we've come together, world peace, and this just shows anybody can get stuff done.
It's
together.
So true. We're reaching across the aisle. We've got people on both sides. Kennedy, real quick, pop quiz. What is the one thing all rodeo queens say? There's one thing they all say.
No, you've asked me this like 10 times just to make public jokes out of me.
It's not a joke.
They all say, I'm not like the rest.
I'm not like other rodeo queens. That makes you exactly like all the rodeo queens.
I think I probably said that word for word before. I'm a rodeo queen advocate. As long as they're being good girls, I will stand up.
You were like the queen of the queens.
Stop.
Which is funny.
Keep it going.
I'm like the leader of my club regarding rodeo queens.
That is true. That is true. Take the top tier from both, and here we are. Okay, so listen. We have a lot to get to today, but one of my favorite segments is about to start right now. So let's get into our pop culture crossover with the Western industry. Okay, so first on the list, this one's so heartfelt. I actually got to witness this in real life. But we had an honorary Miss Rodeo Utah join us at the Ogden Pioneer Days this month, or last month, I should say. It was the sweetest thing. This cute little girl, she is a cancer survivor, and her make-a-wish wish was truly to be a rodeo queen. She wanted to be Miss Rodeo Utah. So, of course, we made that happen. She got to go to War Bonnet Hats, dress herself up, meet all the big girls, went to the Ogden Rodeo, and made an appearance in the arena as Miss Rodeo Utah in her honorary form. So that was just the sweetest thing ever. And in real life, when I watched this in real time, I actually cried. It was so sweet.
I love stuff like that. I know that, like, across the board, people are just amazing. You know, we get press for all the negative stuff, but people across our nation, across the world, there's so many amazing people. And you see stories like this, but I think our culture really does embrace it as much or more than anybody. I love stuff like this, and I cry easy, which might surprise you, but like when it comes to kid stuff, like I tear up. So those are the kind of things that I like watching on a screen from like a safe distance, but I love that. Like the Golden Circle of Champions, all the things that we do in this industry for kids like that, I think is awesome. And I would also like to extend an invite. If there's any of those kids that have a wish to join my club regarding rodeo queens, we can have a day. We can make like social media posts. We can post memes. So open invite.
If you've ever wanted to be a rodeo queen hater, here's your chance.
Hate is a strong word. And the problem is there's just not one that's stronger. No, I'm joking. That's a joke.
But I will say, if there is any truth to that statement that anyone out there is anti-rodeo queen, this was a pretty cool claim against your opinion.
Yeah, but I'm not anti-kid. Like, obviously, I would love this.
No one is.
I'm a supporter. I'm an advocate of this kind of stuff.
I am too. I think it's precious. There's a place for everything in rodeo, and I think this is one of the very biggest reasons that we need advocates like rodeo queens. Good ones. We need good ones. But if you do your job right, things like this will happen, and sweet little girls can have their dreams come true. So that
Kennedy,
was super
real
neat.
quick, what defines the difference between a good one and a bad one?
I mean, I have a lot of answers to that, Jordan.
Yeah, just throw
What
out
I'm
a
going to say
couple.
right
Give me
now.
your top 2 or 3.
Number one is truly, sincerely genuine. I
No,
really
not
crave
examples
that.
of good ones. Give me the examples
Oh,
of the bad ones.
no, I'm not going to do that.
Can I?
Good ones are going to be sincere and genuine and good with the people and good morals. You're living a good life on and off camera. Okay, Jordan, what's yours?
They know how to park a truck and trailer.
That's important.
Their face is always included on their bumper pole trailers with their names and the rodeos.
That makes a good one.
Very important. They make sure to let everybody know that the whole thing is about them. We can keep going. We should
That was
stop.
probably me.
You can have a rodeo
Soaked
without
up the
me.
spotlight.
Their hair is flammable at all times.
That is so true. Fire hazards on 2 feet. Oh, golly. Love your rodeo queens. Okay.
I'm going to catch some hate on this.
Okay, speaking of catching heat. Speaking of
it.
catching heat. So, one of the most controversial but exciting figures of rodeo, who I personally am a big fan of and good friend of, Rocker Steiner. There have been a lot of headlines about him this year coming back from injury, but my favorite lately is this one. Let's pull it up. Mainstream crossover, I think the number one story of this week. Parker McCollum names his kid Rocker, and they've talked about this for a couple of years. He's loved this name. So I don't know if we could truly say he named him after Rocker, but in a sense, if you wanted to say that, I think that there's truth to it. So isn't that kind of fun? Rocker said he's going to be a stinker, so you got to buckle up.
Rocker said the word stinker.
No, that's just my word.
Do you think he named him after Rocker, or do you think Rocker just brought the name to the forefront? He's like, that's a cool name.
I think both. I think that people outside of the industry love Rocker Steiner sincerely. So if Rocker has any haters, they're going to be found inside the rodeo industry, and they're all the couch jockeys, you know?
Well, Rocker's to the point, like, he doesn't even need a last name anymore. Like, if I said Cher or Beyonce, I didn't a kid after Beyonce, I just like the name. It's like, yeah, but I mean, we kind of know who the name is.
That is a good point. Yeah, that's true. I don't know any other rockers. Now we know another one, but we'll see how that one turns out. So
yeah,
I thought that was really cool. But speaking of naming kids, this one was cool. You sent this to me on Instagram this week.
I love this one. I thought this was so funny. This is the backbone of the rodeo world. Like, this is if you want to know who a rodeo fan is, it's a small town rodeo. They go to rodeo. They're pregnant. They're about to have a baby. So they decide whoever wins the bull riding, which, by the way, that's risky. Like, when you look at the names of rodeo contestants, there's some wild names, and there ended up being a tie. And so they're trying to decide between the two names. I think it was, what was it? Tice, and what was the other one? Kennedy, do you remember?
I just remember Tice.
Yeah. So they ended up with a tie. So they get to go home. They were going to name their kid whoever won the bull riding. And then they went home with options. They might have done a vote. We should check back on that.
They did get pretty lucky with that day sheet. Because like you said, you could pull up and get, I mean, Theo Vaughn said it best. They will have like broken, shattered pelvis and Shorty Garrett. He's always like, yeah, they sound like a brother, but they're not. Anyway, you never know.
You know what would be funny is if they named their kid Wakey, like with a K.
That's my favorite one-liner. I say it all the time. Wakey Shala.
What's up, Wakey?
Wakey Shala.
Are you ready for what's probably going to be more controversial than my rodeo queen stance? You ready to get into it?
I'm so excited about this. Let's light the fire.
I have a theory, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm right, but what I am going to tell you is do your own research and then jump into the conversation. I'm sure this is going to find its way to my social media. The political landscape is weird right now, and you can say anything about politics and just like you look at what the WNBA is going through right now, like there's always something political trying to find its way into the field. And so Ella Langley has broken every single record for country music and then all music. And all of a sudden, like the records are falling to a song that's kind of like us, right? And if you go back 10 or 15 years, it's like in our country, we started to believe that the Western was like a niche. It was like this, it was almost like a costume. I feel like the Western industry almost had become like a Halloween costume. Well, you fast forward and all of a sudden it's completely mainstream. And I feel like there's culturally this giant shift going on in the country, like things have changed. Here's my theory. I don't think that anything has changed. I think that some of the behind the scenes thumbs on the scales have started to lift. And what we're seeing is what's always been true. Let me give you an example. When a government program gets defunded, and that government program has been funding nonprofits and cultural programs and things like that, when that gets defunded, you get an opportunity to see what's actually true. What's actually true in our culture, not what is getting funded using tax dollars. So in the last 2 years, there has not been one rap song on the charts. And listen, I was a rodeo kid. Like, we grew up blaring hip hop. Like, if you heard a rodeo rig pull into
So
junior
true.
rodeos, you would swear you're not at a rodeo. So it's not anti hip hop. It's not anti rap. But all of a sudden, some of those programs that have been tied to cultural things, like in the past, you look at things like MK Ultra, do your own research. I'm not going to get weird today, but MK Ultra, the way that they were connected to the rock and roll industry or the hippie movement, or who they actually had working. Some of our biggest villains in U.S. history during the 70s, you go back and they had governmental ties, and you're like, what are we doing right now? Stick with me. I'm going somewhere with this. All of a sudden, those get defunded, and now we're seeing Ella Langley break records, but we're also seeing what's called blue dot fever. And blue dot fever is this wild thing that's happening in our country right now where tickets aren't selling. All of a sudden, these major acts can't sell tickets, and they're to the point they're canceling their tour because they can't sell tickets because the funding that was coming in to kind of push this agenda, and it is an agenda. It's an agenda that says our country is kind of like this. Well, when you feel like you're in the minority, you're like, oh, I shouldn't be too loud. That goes away, and it's like, no, our country isn't like this. Rodeo, Western, the cowboy is the number one cultural export from our country, and it has always been. So for the times that we felt like we were in the minority, that was never true. I think we just had so much other distractions being in our face. And I'm not going to say why. I can't say what the end game was, but when those things were removed, what we're seeing is that we are the backbone. This is the backbone. This is the cultural center of our country. We're proud of who we are. We're proud. I said it the other day. The rodeo world is what our country has gotten right throughout history. If you want to go back and look at all the things we've gotten wrong, fine. This is something we have always gotten right. Our God and country and family values and integrity and character and morals. This is what our country has gotten right for a long, long time. And at the same time, we're having this blue dot fever. It's an interesting Google if you want to go look it up. But at the same time, we're having blue dot fever. We're breaking records at rodeos. Country music has blown up. You know, I was at Stagecoach, there's 80,000 people. Like, it's not that nobody's buying tickets anywhere. It's that this is coming back to the surface as part of our culture. Men who are willing to raise their families, women who don't think there's a higher calling than being a wife and a mom, and a dad who doesn't think there's a higher calling than being a husband and a father. We've prioritized all these other things just because it's been in our face. And what I believe we're seeing is a recentering of not what is true, but what is believed. We're recentering what we believe to be true. And I think I'm excited to see that this is happening. So here's my question, Kennedy. Rant over. Is it possible Taylor Sheridan is the most culturally influential person in America, politicians included, because he's the one that gave a platform for all these people that were kind of wandering and in the orbit? All of a sudden they have a place to gather, and now they're finding country music, rodeos, Hondo. Right. He built the platform that let everybody kind of unite. Is he the most influential cultural figure in the U.S.?
I'd say yes, and I have some stats to back it up. My theory on this, and I think this could be backed by these facts as well, is that rewind to COVID, that's when, of course, I mean, this isn't even that far-fetched, right? I think everybody could probably fall into the belief of this. During the COVID era, a lot of people wanted to reground themselves and find their roots. And if you think about it, America is full of transplants from other countries, right? That's the beautiful part of it. We're a melting pot. But if you've been here, if your family's been here for a couple of generations, chances are you come from cowboy bloodline somehow. Pretty much everyone is just a couple of degrees away from ranching or cowboy heritage. And so, or at least rural roots, okay? So that being said, there's this innate desire in all of us to connect with nature, to live genuine good lives. And all of that is found in this industry. But like you said, it's almost been America's best kept secret until this decade right now. Since COVID, people are finding this and almost finding it as this gem that's been hidden for all these years when we've been living this all our lives. And we're so lucky for that. But here are a couple of facts that back this up. Okay. I think that Taylor Sheridan has done the best job at capitalizing on this time by introducing people to this industry. And whether it be through Yellowstone or different events, he knows American pop culture very well, and he knows exactly what the consumer needs. So that's why we're here right now. And truly, I think we owe him a lot. Here are a couple of facts that I think are super interesting. So you talked about Ella Langley, right? Choose in Texas has spent 15 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That is insane. As of late July 2026, that's the number. It's been 15 consecutive weeks. That makes it the longest running #1 non-holiday song by a female artist in Hot 100 history ever. Okay.
Go watch the music video and see who's in it and tell me it's not connected to who we are.
I'm telling you. And yeah, for anyone who isn't aware of that, JB Mooney, Dale Brisby, Shad Mayfield, you name it. They pulled people from our world, and that was Ella's request, right? She specifically wanted true rodeo cowboys being represented in this music video. Coolest thing ever. I get the goosebumps thinking about it. I love it. So here's another thing. I'm moving on from the Ella Langley thing, but I mean, that can speak for itself. It's amazing. The cowboy boot industry has been booming more than it ever has before. Okay. So here are some numbers for you. In 2026, the market analysis estimates that the global cowboy boot market is at approximately $313.9 million just this year. And we're halfway through the year. Okay. That's up from $294 million in 2025, with projections reaching about $519 million by 2034. So the report is basically just attributing this to Western fashion trends. And it's true. You go to any college football game, girls are wearing cowboy boots everywhere. It doesn't matter what state you're in, how rural it is. No matter what inner city you find yourself in, cowboy boots and cowboy hats are everywhere. So I think that that's super cool. But yeah, they're being paired with pretty much everything. This is a mainstream fashion thing. And if you look at, this is fun for me because I love fashion in general, not just Western fashion. If you look at the trend analysis, you can look at, New York Fashion Week, for example. Some of the biggest luxury brands are harping on this. They have been for a couple of years now, but cowboy boots, cowboy hats, fringe, all of these items that literally come from the working cowboy in the 1800s. You go back to a couple hundred years ago, right? These were made for practical functions. Like fringe was made to help rain roll off of your jacket, or the cowboy hat is protecting you from all sorts of weather. Even chaps are seen, like Sophie Cunningham. I just want to point this out. I know you're going to love this story.
I know. You're not going to tell me much about her. Her game day outfit was
so cute. Her pants, they actually, in my head, I bet that those pants, the actual model of that cut, came from Woolly Chaps. If you look at her pants, so many people in the mainstream world, whether it's in fashion or music or entertainment, they're looking at us and they're using us for good. And I think this is the perfect time to tell the true, accurate cowboy story of the cowboy. And people will be drawn to it no matter where they're from. I've seen that. So anyway, I could go off a rant, but I just think it's amazing.
I don't mean to interrupt. You just said it though, like accurate depiction. Because if you go back, we had like Brokeback Mountain.
Oh, terrible reference.
Right? It's true, like the opposite of Yellowstone. For Taylor to come in and accurately, and I know it's not exactly right. Like there's not a lot of ranchers going out on their helicopters. There's a few, but the culture and the camaraderie and the integrity, like yes, it's Hollywood and yes, it's kind of played up, but I think it's the first time, like you're not going to get everybody to watch Lonesome Dove. Lonesome Dove is the best. Right. It's just the best, but you're not going to get everybody to watch that. So if you want to kind of find a middle ground to accurately portray the culture, he's done it. What a great time to be someone like, Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, the people that are selling cowboy hats because everyone's buying them. And so it's just, I don't think, okay, I'll give you an example. When they catch a baby elephant, this is true, you can look it up. They'll drive a stake in the ground and tie it up by a foot and the elephant can't pull the stake out of the ground. Well, then the elephant grows and he just stops believing that he can do it. And then you can have an elephant tied to a stake that the elephant could easily pull out of the ground. And I think what we're seeing is our culture starting to wake up and we're like, wait a minute, that's not who we are. As an example, I read this other day, you can fact check it. It may not be right, but I did read it. That alcohol sales globally are down $830 billion. Like there's little ways that things are just starting to look different. And it feels like it feels like there's some healing starting to ease into the conversation. I think that what we experienced at COVID was such a wake up call of like what we would and wouldn't tolerate. And are we willing to go that much further down that road? Or there's some things that need to change? And, you know, like not to over spiritualize it, but when God says he's going to use all things together for his good, sometimes that means he's going to take a bad thing and bring something good from it. And I just, man, it's an exciting time to be around and be us and be doing the things that we're doing right now. I think that this has been true. I think we're just the elephant that was like, we can pull that out. We don't have to do this anymore.
You know what? Can I add to that too? This is, I mean, if you want to get me talking, this is the number one topic to bring up, especially bringing faith into it. That's exactly my belief, is that God has used this time for good. And I would venture out to say that Western culture is saving America right now. I think that everything that we have in this industry is everything that society's hungry for, and they don't know where to find it. Whether it be God or camaraderie between different backgrounds or connection to nature, or even just going back to the value of a good handshake and integrity and hard work, all these things that America was founded on originally, we've kind of lost them throughout the last couple of centuries. But right now, it's back, it's bigger, it's better than ever. And I think, like, some people might look at news headlines and think, you know, we're in dire circumstances right now, but I'd say the opposite. I think that we are on an upward trend, and a lot of that is due to this industry finally being discovered and recognized by people. And specifically, this is why I'm so passionate about working in this industry. I'm going to give you, I guess, a reference from inside and outside of the industry. If you're inside of this industry, this is my, I guess, message to everybody, including myself today. If you're inside of this industry, we have a charge and a responsibility to share these things, because if you think big picture perspective, it's not just helping our industry grow or bringing more money into the rodeo world. No, this goes so much deeper. If you are, whether it be a faith-filled person or someone who wants to make the world better, this is your chance to do it. And we genuinely have a real opportunity to do so. And I think that that's through inviting people to experience this industry, whether it be through a rodeo, even if it is just watching Yellowstone, some sort of taste that will encourage people to live better lives. So that's if you're inside this industry. If you're outside of this industry, my call to you is to come and see.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Every single person, no matter what your background is, you are welcome here, and you have a part to play. So that's my message to everybody for what it's worth.
Can I say this? And I know we need to wrap up this segment because I love what you just said. And I think it's worth noting. I think our fans deserve to hear themselves represented. I think the Hondo has uniquely created the greatest fan base ever, because it's like the best the Western industry and rodeo culture has to offer, combined with that hybrid of the music industry coming together. And what we're finding, to your exact point, Kennedy, is there's such an appetite for this. People come in and they go, I can bring my kids here. This is the culture. This is what I want to experience. The Bible says, you know, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that's a spiritual way of saying, like, we have the opportunity. We can either build heaven around ourselves or hell around ourselves based on our choices. And what I think we're experiencing when you walk into the Hondo is like, this is what I want to feel. These are the people I want to be a part of. And these are the people I kind of want to be like. I want to raise my kids. I want them to have heroes. I think the Hondo fans, in a sense, have a responsibility they don't even realize, but they're going to do it. That's just who they are. And for the world to have a place in the same way that Taylor Sheridan built a platform for people to gather, I think Hondo is doing the same thing, because you walk in and you're like, it's this. I don't know what it is. I can't see it. I can't taste it. I can't smell it. But all those things together, it's this. And I'm so proud of the fans that we're seeing show up. Phoenix, New Orleans, it's healing. And you're exactly right. There's a responsibility that we have to make that available. We couldn't agree more.
And I'm so sorry I keep stretching this out, but just another point to make. The people of this industry, whether it be country music or the rodeo world, are not perfect by any means. We're all just as human as people outside of the industry. The difference is that growing up or in this world or being a part of this world gives you a foundation to fall back on that helps make you a better person. So nobody is perfect in this world, but because of the values we're founded upon, we can have heroes to look up to that are, even if they're not perfect, they genuinely are worthy of looking up to. So anyway, oh my gosh, we could go on and on about this. It's the best topic, but I'm so fired up about it. I love to see the world discovering this hidden gem of the Western industry. So that's going to wrap it up today for pop culture crossovers. But I mean, like we keep saying, it's just growing. So there will be more next week, but that's one of my favorite segments. Okay. Let's go to our next segment. This is going to be our biggest rodeo and Western headlines in the news right now. And a lot's happening, of course, because the summer rodeo run is still underway. And this year's been so interesting. A lot of injuries, but a lot of record-breaking numbers too. So much money has been up for grabs. So there are a lot of storylines that are really cool to follow. The first that I'm going to bring up, and this comes with a hot take. I am wondering if this is the best bull riding we've seen in decades. And I know we have the Lane Frost era and the JB Mooney era, but since then, has there been a gap until now? And are we seeing a resurgence of unprecedented bull riders? What do you think on that, Jordan?
I think there was talk for a long time of like the bull business is outpacing the bull riding business. And the joke was we're going to have to start breeding better bull riders. We're there. We're there. You look at the PBR world champion, John Crimber, who's just like a fun haver, going to concerts and like leading this cultural, energetic, joyful kind of vibe that I love. And then you look at Noah Lee and everything he's doing this year. It's just it's a fun time to be a fan of bull riding. And these kids that are coming up that are like missing teeth and having fun and hanging off of bumpers. It's everything you want from the bull riding culture. JB has his own like kind of serious sort of vibe, right? And then you go back to like the Jim Sharp, Ty Murray, there's been different cultures of bull riders. This one so far, I think, is my favorite because it's a bunch of kids who are just having fun. These are the kids that wreck golf carts at the high school finals at nationals every year. Like this is the fun having leaders and they're just wrecking house. And then you run a bull under them. They go 90, throw their hat in the crowd, and then they're having fun. I wonder, let me ask you this, Kennedy. Do you think that we're starting to experience rodeo-wide the rocker effect?
I could see that. I also think there's a John Crimber effect. I think that the both of them have touched this industry in a specific way. And I like that you keep pointing out they're the fun havers because when you get someone like Rocker, he has the perfect combination of he genuinely is having fun, but he also takes it so dang seriously. Like nobody's going to get in his way.
Right.
Whereas you take John Crimber, Noah Lee, Luke Mackey, all these new kids that are on the rise, right, in the bull riding world, you watch them have fun. And I think there's a science behind this. The having fun element, I think, washes away the nerves, the pressure that you'd normally crack underneath. It lowers cortisol levels. So all of that lets them perform better. So that's my take on it, on why we're seeing these kids rise to the top. I also think that it's creating this culture within the bull riding world that they're all here at the same time. If you have one fun haver and a bunch of others that aren't having fun, it's not the same, but all of them are having fun together, riding off of each other's energy. And I hope this lasts a while because same with me, this is the most fun I've had watching the bull riding in years.
There's a part of the brain, there's actually a science behind this, that in times of play, and I don't mean just play, I mean like lighthearted, no responsibility, just playfulness. There's a science behind it that your hippocampus in your brain grows and expands and it's overall better for your mental health. I think that my generation grew up with some seriousness. My grandpa's generation that was from the Depression, they were just everything is serious. Play was almost like this childish thing that you set down. You don't play anymore. And we have the science to prove now the hippocampus, your dopamine levels, your ability to regulate negative emotions comes from knowing things that are sacred. And you look at John. John has a sense of what's sacred and everything else is fun. And my favorite thing about John is the more excited he gets in interview, the more Southern his accent gets. Have you picked up on that? Like every now and then when he gets excited, he goes into just like full Texas accent and you're like, okay, all right, let's do it.
I love it. He's having a blast. And yeah, I think I agree with all of that. It's honestly, I think that it's a life lesson we can take from them. It goes deeper than just what we're seeing here at face value. But one example of this that has been so fun to watch this week, Luke Mackey, a Hondo athlete, by the way. He also goes by the Colorado Kid. Okay. This is him going 84.5 on a bull named California Love. But this isn't just about the score. Okay. This is the first time this bull has been successfully ridden since JB Mooney, and he went 90.5. So the fact that we mentioned JB Mooney earlier as almost like a measurement of milestones in the bull riding world, it goes to show right now Luke Mackey is rising to that same exact level. So it's really interesting to see them in their young years. Of course, a lot of these kids are 18, 19 years old. They still have a handful of years left in the prime of their career. So I wonder where this is going to go. I think that we're looking at a lot of records yet to be broken with these kids that we have in the bull riding world.
Absolutely. Just at a personal level, I think the reason I appreciate it is that I know there were times I took things just too seriously. I had to like prove that I was serious. And like, I surrendered so much fun in my life where like, I'll have fun if it's going good, or I'll wait to celebrate until things are perfect. And I love that these kids are not the like overreacting, throwing their helmet and throwing a fit. Like,
Yeah.
you can choose to have joy. You can choose to have fun. And I think actually you're going to have a better result anyway. Brenton Hall said one time, when you carry a bad mood to the next steer and you're thinking about the last steer, now you're trying to rope two steers at the same time. It's not a good strategy to take it too seriously. Like, have things in your life that are sacred. Absolutely. Everything else, you're not going to make it out alive. Like, just go enjoy the process. And side note, it's cool that JB Mooney is still relevant enough that a bull is still bucking, that he's the last one. Like, it feels like the JB Mooney era was a long time ago. It's cool. There's still like some relevant crossover.
Oh, yeah. Well, also, I just want to bring up a couple of, since we're going into the science of things today, I actually was looking into this last night. Okay. So Jordan and I get to speak at the Cavenders Youth Summit, and we're putting together this little presentation. I'm thinking, what do I want this group of youth to know? And so my topic I'm going with is your purpose and your why behind what you're doing. It could seem, insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but it's not. God can use little things for big things. And so I'm looking at the science behind how it affects you to perform when you have a deeper purpose behind what you're doing. This is what I found. A recent study showed that individuals with a strong sense of purpose show much lower levels of cortisol during high pressure events. So having less levels of that stress hormone does a lot to your performance in the first place. It also says athletes driven by purpose and intrinsic motivation, which could be, your faith, your family, gratitude, whatever those bigger picture things are, they are 42% less likely to experience burnout, which is one thing that rodeo athletes constantly are struggling with, especially at the high level. Studies also showed that grit is a better predictor of success than raw talent or IQ. The numbers show that. The key component of grit, though, of course, is a conviction that you're serving a higher purpose. Like, that brings grit to the table when you know that you're serving a higher purpose. And I've experienced that in my own life with, public speaking or even just pushing my career forward. But I can't imagine when there's such a physical element to what you're doing and your livelihood, you have to be founded on a strong foundation or else you're not going to last. And so I do think there's something to be said about our rodeo athletes today. And you can see the difference between the ones that have strong foundations and the ones that don't. The ones that do, they're the ones that are going to be making history. Derek Begay and Coulter Todd, I bring them up all the time, but those are two prime examples of that. You said it best. They know what's sacred. They keep sacred things sacred, but they also are able to have fun. And I've seen it firsthand. If they miss their loop at the Houston Rodeo with 30 grand on the line, they're going home just as happy, or at least with just as good of attitudes as they are on the way to that rodeo with the excitement. So I don't know. I just think there are big lessons to take from these guys.
There are. And you know what's interesting to me? You said talent and IQ are less of a predictor than grit. So listen, all you untalented dummies, grit is the one that's a choice. The other two are natural. Grit is the one you get to choose. So there's nobody's disqualified. It is literally, here we go with brain science again. It is the prefrontal cortex that determines how much grit you want to have. It's not what you were born with. It's not what you inherited. This idea of like, well, you got to have $1 million to even get started. You can start. You can start anything, anytime. It's up to you if you want to keep going or not. Grit's a choice. We need to stay on rodeo. This is like the brain science and rodeo. That's so enough.
Good, but yeah. Okay, so
your turn.
Okay, there's the bull riding. Let's talk about the girls, though. This has been so exciting. When we talk about barrel racing, there is a big barrel race happening right now and a shift in the numbers. So Cassie Mowry, up until a couple of weeks ago, has held her spot in the number one place in the world standings the whole entire season. No one else has taken it from her. And her rodeo count was extremely low, like half the size of the other girls in the top 15. Well, it was bound to change, I think, with how much money is up for grabs this summer. A couple of weeks ago, this changed. Actually, I think it was last week. Haley Gibson-Stillwell is now the number one girl in the world. And I'm looking at the standings right now. Cassie's still up there. She's number 3. But Haley Kinsel's in the number 2 spot. So you look at how the numbers are changing. And you also, if you dive into the numbers of what rodeos these girls were entering up at, they're not all the big rodeos. So it's just consistency is key. And over the summer, especially when so much money's up for grabs, like the 24th of July, we talked about that on our last episode, the numbers will shift no matter what happens. The storylines have been changing. So Haley Gibson-Stillwell is our new number one cowgirl in the barrel racing.
I don't know if this is new. It feels like every now and then recently controversy finds its way into the barrel world. I don't know. This week I laughed. This is such a good life lesson. So Sydney Graham sets the pro rodeo world record on a standard pattern at Heber City. She runs a 16:49. Somebody posts that Trisha Aldridge said, well, it wasn't a standard pattern. It was short. Everybody, oh, don't yuck my yum type stuff. And then it comes out, to Trisha's credit, Trisha said that after she had run a 6 at Heber City, which is an amazing run, she said it about her own run. And then Sydney came back and ran a 16:49. And as it turns out, they released that the pattern wasn't short. So whether it was, whether it wasn't, doesn't matter. I just thought it was so funny that everybody's like, rah! And then turns out they're like, oh, she was actually talking about herself. There was like a little head fake where everybody's like, oh, she's talking crap. Get her. And then the masses are like, I think we're on the wrong team here.
I mean, you know what?
And both were studs. Trump and
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. Both of those horses have complete fan bases. I'm a part of both of them. They're so much fun to watch. And I will say there's one thing to be said about that. The horse market in the barrel world, I mean, the talent, I think, just gets better every year, which I always think, like, how does it get better than this? But it does. But I was also going to say, here's the thing. Controversy will always follow record-setting numbers. And it doesn't matter who you are, how good of a person you are. People will want to call your bluff on that. So whether or not Trisha was, other people might have been calling that too from home. It might have been short. But the same thing happened with Dustin Eggy and JC Flake. We just want to let them have their moment. Whether or not it was short, that's a fantastic time. So I want to congratulate her officially on our behalf for that number, because she might be catching flack from other people. I'm going to say congratulations. That is an incredible feat to be pulled off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's 16.6 is an amazing run. And the fact that Trisha was 6, for people that don't know, generally the reason that horses do not make racehorses as studs later in their life is that the testosterone and the ambition thing just are connected. And so same like a bull, you can be moving a pasture full of cows and the bull's going to be the laziest one. He's going to be taking it easy and then he'll get on the fight, right? And so a stud to keep that level of ambition and try, and you watch both of those studs and they're just, it's amazing for them to be what they are and setting the records that they're setting as studs. It says a lot. I think I heard Emily Beisel say the other day, we're finally breeding barrel horses. We always had race horses or cow horses mixed. Those two studs are not only winning right now, but think about what they're going to do in the industry moving forward, the kind of offspring that they're going to have.
Yeah, we just keep talking about this, but in every facet of the sport, rodeo really is getting better. It's just getting better. The talent of the humans and the animals are upping their game every year. And I want to talk about that. Okay, so let's go to the timed event side. Two guys who I know you and I are both personal fans of that are young guns and have had a heater of a year. Tyler Tryon and Nikki Northcott. Heater of a summer. Okay, I was crunching the numbers. Do you want to know how much they've made just this summer?
$85.
A lot of money. Oh. I'm going to break it down. So mid-June-ish, about 15 grand there, okay, in their Northwestern run. And then they go to Cheyenne, win the whole thing. That's a big chunk of money. And now this is their late summer surge. Post Cheyenne, early August, right? We're talking Dodge City, Douglas County Fair, 24, almost 25 grand. So you think of how old these kids are. They are almost fresh out of high school, you could say, with this era of their life. But they're pairing up. They both come from rodeo bloodlines and really good ones at that. And I just think, what a dynamic duo. It's been so much fun to watch them.
You know what's amazing is Tyler Tryon cut his thumb OFF off and was out for a while. It wasn't like he dinged it. He cut it off. Also, remember that I said this, fashion lady. Watch and see. There's going to be a whole generation of young team ropers that don't know how to tuck in their shirts. You watch. Because Tyler and Nikki right now, they're in the, they'll win Cheyenne and both their shirts are hanging out of their belts. It's like they've got extra long torsos or extra short shirts. You watch. Both. The high school rodeo thing, it's going to be like, oh, I don't even tuck my shirt in. You watch. You want to know the next fashion trend in high school rodeo guys? Shirts that aren't all the way tucked in. And you know what? I'm here for it. I love it.
I'm going to predict too then that we're going to see a new movement of mullets, because both of them, I would love to cut their hair just for fun. That's not happening anytime soon. The both of them, I think there's almost good luck running through their hair. But can I insert a picture here?
Please do. And it's not even, listen, it's not even just the shirts or the mullets. It's kind of the style and the attitude. It's this nonchalant. Yes. You know what I think it is? Nepo babies come in with they're born on third and think they hit a triple. but there's a confidence that they have. Not that these are nepotistic. Fast forward, a preacher's kid is going to be the most cynical about church stuff because he was raised in it. Rodeo kids are going to come in and they're going to win. And it's going to be cool, but it's not like a guy from the outside who's like, oh, the moment's too big. What you're seeing in Nikki and Tyler are like, I grew up with this. Like, this is cool. I'm just here to win money. Like, their attitude to me is so much fun to watch that they're just like nonchalant, whatever. I don't tuck my shirt in, or I kind of do, or I did, or whatever. I'm so here for it. I love it.
Okay, so I also want to insert this. Raylan and I, my sister and I, did a little YouTube video with him a handful of weeks ago, and we pull up, okay? Like, we're planning this YouTube video out. We're going to come and follow them, a day in the life, whatever. We pull up Tyler and Kyle. Nikki didn't participate in this. I think he was too nonchalant for this feat. They're wearing like cut off American flag. Like, literally, I'm thinking Larry the Cable Guy vibes, because not only does he have a mullet, he's smoking a camel, but he has a cut off shirt. And this is his vibe. Like, he's got to get ready in an hour. He's not like some guys are locking in, stretching, whatever. Here they are. A beautiful depiction of these guys, I'd say. But anyway, I just want to give a good idea of like what they're like on the scene, behind the scenes, right? So they're really like in really high pressure situations. But like you said, the nonchalant side of these guys, I almost wonder if that's maybe their secret. Like, these guys don't give a care in the world. They do care about their jobs, but
it's back to the playfulness, like the bull riders. And you gotta love a brand new shiny Cheyenne Frontier Days champion buckle on a belt of a guy who looks like he's there to steal your carburetor. Like, I think it is. I think it's so fun when you take a big moment and it's not too big for you and you can have fun with it. So we're seeing the same thing out of those guys. Speaking of young guys who are just going off, for you guys that don't know, Justin Moss is kind of a harbinger in this business. He's the guy that knows everybody. He keeps his ear to the ground. A lot of guys go rope with him. He's the guy that spots talent way in advance. He's becoming kind of this like guru sort of figure in the calf roping world. And so when he posts stuff, like, it matters. And he posted this week, there's so much about Joel Harris that reminds him of Caleb Schmidt. We've talked about this with Kai and Wilhite before. That's big words. Their style to me is so different. Like, Ty Harris and Caleb Schmidt have such different runs, but all of a sudden, Joel and that Bay are getting along, and it's like the world is on fire now. Everywhere he's going, he's winning first. He wins Dodge City. I think didn't he win Preston maybe? It seems like a guy coming into his own. So here's my question: whether it's Joel or whether it's someone else, do you remember the Secretariat won the Triple Crown? And the same horse ran second in all three races. And off the top of my head, I can't remember his name right now. Is this the worst time in calf roping since the Cody Fred era to be the second best guy in the world? Because you've got this Riley Webb shadow. Do you think there are some generational type talents that are going to be missed, whether that's a Kincaid, whether that's Joel coming up? When you look at Haven, who, by the way, is not just a face in the crowd this year. Haven feels like he's kind of back on a mission and healthy. Yeah. There's the Shads. There's so many of these guys that in different times would have been just like the rock stars of their sport. And they're still there, but is Riley going to ruin some legacies?
It almost is like the Stetson Ride of the timed events. You know, like, he's a poster child. He has a huge fan base. And yes, I do think there's truth to that. I think that maybe some of these stories are getting lost in translation because everyone's watching the Riley show, which is worthy of watching. I mean, he's earned every cent that he has. But yeah, it's so interesting because we talked about this with other guys. Like you said, you mentioned Kincaid Henry or even Shane Hanchy too. Like, he's still on the scene heavily. And no one's really like talking about it because we're all talking about Riley. You know, there are a lot of other storylines getting lost in the sauce.
Well, I think you can quote me on this. I think if Shane makes NFR this year, that's the record. I think he's tied with Mike Johnson. Maybe break it if he makes it this year. I don't know. Check that. But like, Shane's doing amazing things. But that's what I'm saying. There's people doing amazing things that you can't see from the shadows. We need to wrap this segment up. Kennedy, we need to be done with this one for the sake of time. But there's more to this next week. We're going to get back into it. We're going to wrap this one up and get it to our next one. All right. We're going into our Athlete Insider. One of the things that I think, Kennedy, you might be one of the best people in our industry at this, and so I get to ride your coattails on this, is the stories coming out of rodeo that maybe aren't on camera. Things are happening behind the scenes, just sort of the insider look. And so give us what you got.
Okay, I'm pulling up my numbers right now because I have a couple of stats to back up these stories. The first one I want to talk about is Cheyenne McCartney. Okay, so this is a gal, and I'm going to check to see if WPRA updated their standings here.
Probably not.
It does happen once in a blue moon, okay?
Come on,
But we're excited when
WPRA.
it happens. So Cheyenne is a gal that I really admire in and out of the arena. She's a genuinely great human being. But one thing I really like about this girl, the horsepower behind her is accredited to her and her husband, honestly. A lot of these horses are their own work, and they're not just competing in the rodeo world, they're heavily competing in the futurity world. So you'll see her taking home lots of money. She's actually, she's number one in the world right now, okay? So because of the money that she's won this summer, she's now number one in the world. She's no stranger to the winner's circle, but it's been a bit since she's been number one, okay? And kind of similar to the Riley Webb effect, Josie Connor has really been the show and the breakaway the last couple of years. And she's still had a good year, but honestly, I think she's almost fallen back just enough for some other girls to make their own storylines here, including Cheyenne. And what I really wanted to pull up right now was a quote that Cheyenne fed to, I think it was to WPRA. Yeah. And I think this quote perfectly depicts why she's there.
Was the quote, update your website?
She probably said that off the record. But this is what she says. She says, good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. And if you look at what she's done this year, she has lived every single one of those words. She's not just she's not just preaching it. She's practicing what she preaches. So congrats to Cheyenne for being number one in the world, but also for being such a good example to every other person in this industry. I look up to her for so many reasons, and that's one of them.
Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird that Dr. Seuss, isn't that a Dr. Seuss quote?
It's Cheyenne McCartney quote in my mind.
I'm pretty sure I might be wrong, but
it is so poetic. It's probably.
But even if it is, that's my point. Is those kinds of things that are so simple and rhyme that are easy to stick. There's so much truth to that, and if that's not Dr. Seuss, I take my words back. Noah
you go for it. This is a good one.
Noah Lee is in the 90s again.
You can't keep him out of there.
That's a story anymore. I just feel like that's like reporting that the sun came up.
Okay, this is also not just in the 90s. This is his third 93-point ride of the season. That's like a career best for most guys. 93 is crazy. That's something you talk about for generations to come. You're talking to your grandkids about that one time he went 93, Dodge City.
That's higher than I've ever scored.
Just another random Tuesday for him. On a really great bull, Moolah from Powder River Rodeo. But yeah, I think that this debut of his, he's just milking every ounce of it out. He's making the most of it. So that was really cool to see. 93 again.
Shad's on a comeback tour. I know I said it last week. I feel like he's going to make the finals because they have heavy loaded so much money into the end of the season. You think of things like Sioux Falls and the rodeos that have come on and added so much extra money. There's enough money to make it to get in. He comes back with a good chance at Dodge City. His calf gets up. In your mind, Kennedy, just watching, how much of a momentum killer is something like that? Or do you think it doesn't slow him down? What's your how does Dodge City affect the storyline?
2025 Shad, I think this would affect him. I think it would get to his head. 2026 Shad, though, he's been on such a high. I think that I also am seeing we're seeing a different Shad. Not just different hips, but I think that he has a new mindset. I think his willpower is stronger, and he is 100.5% determined to make the finals, and I don't think anything's going to stand in his way, not even that calf getting up. The numbers this season so far, just this year, he's been at 23 rodeos, and he missed half the season, by the way. He just came back about a month and a half ago, okay? Coming out of a double hip surgery recovery, okay? He wins California Rodeo Salinas. That's a big win right there. A lot of money. And basically he went from being unranked to now being in the top 25. And he is only going to keep climbing. $53,000 won. And that was as of just this week. So there's a lot more to come. And like you said, because they've heavy loaded this year with money, there's still so much to happen. And in my opinion, with his mindset, I think he's going to do it.
I'll tell you what's going to make Shad dangerous. When you're the favorite and you're expected to win, it's a different pressure than when you've got nothing to lose. And if Shad comes in with the mindset of like, I got nothing to lose, I'm just going for it and having fun. You're not expected to make the finals on paper. You look at how much winning he does when he's just like letting it all go and hang out. Back to the fun thing. Remember the fun thing I was talking about, the bull riders and the team ropers? If Shad adopts a little bit of that, he's like, what difference does it make? I'm not supposed to do this. And so if I do, if he adopts that mindset, there's a chance that that's our guy. When you talk about legacy stories and Riley, I think Shad, talent-wise, is the guy the closest to Riley. Part of what makes Riley so good is his consistency, and what makes Shad so good is his explosiveness. And so if Shad is able to kind of tap into that, like Nikki Northcott, sort of like, whatever, bro, I would be curious to see if he had a whole season, what that would look like.
Well, and then here's my hot take on this. I think that Shad's missing piece has been mindset and foundation. I think that he takes it so seriously and he's so independent that pressure would make anybody crack, right? But now we fast forward to this comeback season, and like you said, there is an amount of pressure on him that hasn't been on him before in some ways. But and yeah, in other ways, like you said, like you almost didn't know when he was coming back if he was going to push for the finals. And now here he is. He has this chance, like you said, to change that, I guess, dynamic between him and the fan base. And it's a completely different story. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how that goes. Let's talk about animals, though. So this is one of my favorite parts of the rodeo industry. We talk about Shad coming back from injury. Yes, sometimes there are animal athlete injuries too. We really try to avoid them, but this is one of my favorite examples of how seriously we take it. They are just as every bit of an athlete as the humans are. So there's this bull, and he has a really cool name, by the way. I think this is fun about him. Ghost Ship Warrior. So he's one of the best bucking bulls in the industry, okay? But at the NFR Open Finals, everything changed. He's a phenom genetics bull. He shattered his tibia. This was on July 18th. And sometimes when this happens, if you break a leg and you're a bull or a horse, honestly, a lot of people are going to jump to the conclusion that you're going to have to put him down because it's very rare that a horse or a bull can come back from an injury like that. But they refused to give up on this. So what they did was they brought him back to Minnesota, and on that ride home, they could kind of see in him that he wanted to fight. He had this willpower in him to keep it up. And this is what Sharping said to him. He said, "You don't want to die. You're not giving up," which means I'm not giving up either. Okay, I feel like I'm getting choked up right now. You can feel the tears. He cared so much about this, and you can see their relationship there. So now he's at a vet in Texas, and he has a long road ahead of him of recovery. But you can see this picture. We're going to insert it here. Cute little ghost ship with his cast around his leg. He's going to do it. He's going to recover. And I think that says a lot about what Sharping and Ghost Ship both have in them. Both of them had the will to do it. And I just think that was a cool story.
I am shocked to find out that bulls have tibias.
Little did you know.
Who knew?
Oh, geez.
This week, in similar news, I think I saw the funniest wreck I've seen in a long time because the video is rough, but the audio, like if you want to get a sense of like the backbone of the rodeo, like hometown rodeo kind of crowd, it is Sparta. And so I'm gonna be quiet and you can listen to the audio.
God!
If you can hear that audio, dies laughing. They're not like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. They are cracking up. He gets up, walks off. But look at the determination. Let's watch it one more time. This guy's like, not gonna quit. Me, I'm like, quit. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't. You know what? Just go for it. Bam. I freaking love Rex.
And this goes back to rodeo athletes being a completely different breed than mainstream athletes. Take Devin Booker out of his element. Let something like this happen to him and tell me how he's going to react. No offense, big Devin Booker fan here, but they're just made different in the rodeo world.
You know, it's like the bull story. He looked at that steer and he goes, if you want to run, you're going to run and I'm going to chase you. And the steer's like, if you want to fly into a fence, I'll stop and let you find a fence. It's touching. I could cry.
Sign me up. It's touching. Beautiful, truly. Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up for our Athlete Insider today. I love that segment. From the animal to the human side, we have pretty much the best that the world has to offer when it comes to athletes in the rodeo world. So always love covering them, but that's going to do it for today.
That is going to do it for us this week. Kennedy, we've orbited this idea for a while, and shout out to James Trawick, who had just such a vision for what he wanted to see here, and we've kept working at it. It feels like we're starting to get it figured out. I'm enjoying this. This is one of the highlights of my week. So I want to encourage everybody to go like and subscribe. Words I never thought I would ever say online. I'm not proud of it. But we love hearing back. And the comment section, like we'll keep sharing stuff to our socials, but we want to hear from you too. Some of the stuff that comes up makes it into the show. And so we're loving the fact that you're jumping in and getting involved. I guess I just kind of thought Katie was going to say something.
Sorry.
Remember what you said about me on the pre-show? I look over and Katie's like,
You guys, we can't land this plane because we love it so much. Okay, I am going to land the plane here. Thank you so much for watching. Like he said, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.